In this lesson, we're going to explore formatting your paragraph text, which isn't much different than formatting your artistic text, but when you're working with paragraph frames and you've got multiple lines of text, there's some additional formatting options that you need to know about. So we're going to continue to work with our menu here. We inserted a new paragraph frame in the last lesson. If you're skipping to this lesson though and you want to get caught up and you've got the exercise files, go to the lesson 5 folder and open up gomenu2.cdr. You'll have exactly what I have here on the screen. So we've got some paragraph text here on our page, and we're going to format our desserts and drinks down below. So we're going to change up some of the formatting, and we're also going to need to add in some text and talk about using tab stops. So let's zoom into that area first. You can press F2 or access your zoom tool. Let's just click and drag from about the center here down to the bottom right corner. All right, this is the area we want to work with. So the first thing I'm going to show you is that you can click on your pick tool and select a paragraph frame just by clicking on it. And then all of that character formatting we did when we were formatting artistic text can also be applied to paragraph text. So if you wanted to, for example, you could open up the character formatting docker just by clicking this little guy up here on the property bar. Change things like your font and your point size, apply underlining, and change positions, strike through. All of that stuff that we talked about using artistic text also applies to our paragraph text. But I'm going to close that up. And I'm going to go up to my text menu and show you there's another docker called paragraph formatting. And I'm going to click on that. Now here you're going to see options for horizontal and vertical alignment within the frame. You're also going to see some spacing options. Now if yours is collapsed, just click the double arrows here to expand or collapse any of these sections. We want them all expanded, so you can expand them all, including the indents down below. Under spacing, you can see we've got paragraph and line spacing. We've also got language, character, and word spacing, so spacing between characters and between words can also be adjusted. And then we've got indents down below. So if you wanted a left, right, or a first line indent, you can apply them here using these figures. So let's try some of this stuff out. Now to apply it to the entire frame, you don't actually select any text. So for example, if I go over to my alignment here, notice that there's nothing showing up here. That's because my paragraph frame contains two horizontal alignment options inside. I've got a centered title and left aligned items down the left-hand side here. So if I wanted everything centered, I click here, come down to center, and you can see a live preview of what's going to happen if I select center. There's left align and none. Now I'm not going to select anything. I'm just going to click out here to keep it the way it was. I like the center title, and I like to have these items down the left. What I'm missing are the dollar amounts that need to be added, and they should be right aligned, but we're going to talk about tabs in a moment. How about the spacing now? You may recall when we were entering this text that we typed in soft drinks, we hit enter, and then enter again to leave a blank line. Well, let's go inside here with our text tool. I'm going to access the text tool here and just click between soft drinks and coffee tea. Now you can see my cursor over there on the left-hand side. I'm going to hit backspace to remove the blank line. I'm going to do the same. Click between coffee, tea, and pie. Hit backspace. Click between pie and cake, backspace, and between cake and cookies, do the exact same thing. Because what we really should have done is adjusted the line spacing as opposed to putting in our own spaces. Because things can go wrong, especially when you start getting into tabs and trying to line things up. If you've got extra lines in there, they're treated as separate paragraphs, even though there's nothing there. Each of these lines, because we hit enter at the end of the line, is treated as its own paragraph within our paragraph frame. So now I'm going to click and drag from soft drinks all the way down to cookies. So I've highlighted all of those lines or paragraphs. And now when I come over to my paragraph formatting docker, I can do things like adjust the spacing before or after a paragraph. Notice 100%, that represents single spacing. So 200% would be double spacing, 300% triple. We can also go in between. So we can use our arrows. For example, if we wanted to create space after each paragraph, we could click the up arrow. Look what happens over there. Little space is appearing in between each of those lines with each click of the up arrow. We can also come in here and type any value we want. So I'm going to highlight everything here and just type in 150, 150%, or 1.5 spacing. When I hit enter, you can see the end result. And I kind of like that spacing better than what I was using in the other paragraph frames where I was hitting enter a couple of times. So that's perfect, just like that. I've also got a little extra room if I need to add any more items. Let's go up to our title now. I'm going to click and drag across the title and look at some of the different horizontal alignments here. Center is what's currently showing up in here. Vertically, it's at the top of the frame. I'm going to click on the horizontal drop down here and just hover over some of these to see the results. There's center, but there's left. There's right align, doesn't make sense. Full justify isn't working because there's only one line of text. But if I go down to force justify, it forces that single line to fill the entire width of my paragraph frame. I like that. So I'm going to choose force justify, just like that. Perfect. All right, a little bit more formatting to go. I'm just going to scroll up a little bit so I can see part of the other paragraph frame above my desserts and drinks, my main dishes. So I'm going to click up here. I just want you to notice something. Up here on the ruler, you can see it's pretty much empty until we get to around the 3-inch mark over here, and there's a little character. It looks like a backwards L. That is a tab stop. If I click down below next to soft drinks, you can see I've got a whole bunch of characters here which look like the letter L. Those are left aligned tab stops, and they are the defaults. So if I wanted to tab over and type in a dollar amount, I would have to hit tab a few times, and I doubt it would line up perfectly here with my other paragraph frames. So the next thing we're going to do is talk about tabs. Now they're different from indents. Down below here in our paragraph formatting, we can add first line indents and choose the value so that the first line of a paragraph is indented. Sometimes you see that with lengthy text. So if you're doing a newsletter, for example, you can also set left and right indents using your indent command. You will indent to whatever you type in here. So if you didn't want to just do a first line indent but be able to indent any line, you could set up those values here. That's different from what we're going to do with tabs. So I want the tabs to be applied to all of these items down below. So I'm going to click and drag from soft drinks all the way down. Now I'm going to go up to text and down to tabs. Here's where I see the default settings. Every half an inch I've got a left align tab. I don't want any of those, so I can click remove all. They're all gone. And all I need is one at 2.961 inches. I'll show you how I came up with that figure in a second. Clicking the add button adds one at the half-inch mark. It's left aligned with no dot leaders. I'm going to change this value by selecting what's there and typing in 2.961. Over here where it says left, I'm going to click once, then click the drop down to choose right. Notice I also have some options for center and decimal with this little character and the dot appearing next to it. But I want this to be right aligned. And I'm going to try the dot leaders. I'm going to click where it says off, click again to see the drop down list, and select on. Now I'm going to click OK. So all I have to do now is start adding my amounts. I'm going to click after soft drinks, hit my tab key, watch what happens. There's all those dots. It takes me all the way to 2.961 inches on the ruler. And when I start typing, watch what happens. There's the dollar sign, 199. It all moves in towards the left, taking out dots along the way. Let's try it again with coffee and tea. We hit tab, put in our dollar sign, 125. We'll click after pie and hit tab. Let's put that at $3.99. We'll do the same for cake. Dollar sign. And you can see how everything's lined up perfectly down the right-hand side here with the dots, making it a little bit easier for us to line up the items with the dollar amounts. Cookies we'll put in at $1.99. There we go. So where did I come up with that 2.961? Well, let's click in the frame just above our desserts and drinks. Just one click. We'll go up to text and down to tabs. And you'll see in this case, I've got my first tab, which is right aligned at 2.961 inches. And I've got a whole bunch after that, which will never be used. But if I want to take them out, I can just click on one and go down below where it says remove. I don't want to remove them all. I need that right aligned. So each time I tap the remove button here, I'm removing the one below until I'm left with just the one. And I click OK. All right, so we've got a couple of different formatting options that have been applied. We've used our force justify for our title. We've got a tab with dot leaders. We've got 1.5 line spacing. So now it's time to apply that to existing text already. Shift F4 zooms us out. And I'm going to zoom in around my main dishes now, clicking the zoom tool or F2 on your keyboard, whichever you prefer. Let's zoom into that area and we'll go back to our text tool. So let's start with our main dishes. Come across here. This is where paragraph formatting comes in handy over here. The horizontal, force justify. There we go. Now down below, we know that the tab stops are okay, but we're just missing the dot leaders. So we click and drag over the existing text from veggie stir fry all the way down to the price of our curry chicken. And we go up to text, down to tabs, and turn on our dot leaders. So up here where it's off, I'm going to turn them on. There we go. Now watch what happens when I click OK. Notice the extra dots down here. Remember, I hit enter a couple of times here, so depending where you hit enter, look at that, I'm getting dot leaders on a blank line. So with everything still selected, I'm going to change my line spacing for after each paragraph to 150%. 150 over here in the Docker, highlight what's there, just type over it. When you hit enter, watch what happens to the frame. It turns red. That tells me that I'm missing some of the text. It's gone past the frame. In fact, if I click on my pick tool, look down at the bottom, I got that little black arrow indicating that there's more. Well, that's because I got all these extra blank lines in here. I'm going to go back to my text tool, click between veggie stir fry and chicken wrap, hit backspace. Perfect. I'm going to click down here where I've got all these dot leaders right at the beginning, hit backspace. They disappear nicely. Backspace. All of a sudden now, my frame is no longer red, and as I move down, notice that the black arrow is missing from that tag at the bottom. So now I know I'm seeing all of my text. Hit the backspace again, so everything's lined up perfectly with the right spacing. I've got the identical formatting now for my main dishes as my desserts and drinks. Shift F4 zooms out. I'm going to go back to my pick tool, click out here off the page to deselect to see the end result. Looks pretty good. So if you want to practice that, go to your appetizers and your lighter fare and repeat those steps. Make everything look consistent. Turn those dot leaders on and set up your single tab if you have to. Take out the centering for your titles and put in force justify. And remember the line spacing. Take out those blank lines and turn it into 150% after each paragraph, and you'll have a nice consistent looking menu. So that's paragraph formatting. There is something brand new here in CorelDRAW X4, something you can now do with paragraph text, and that is to mirror it using an interactive tool. So in the chapter dealing with interactive tools, we're going to come back to our paragraphs and show you the interactive mirroring. Right now, though, you should have a good handle on formatting your paragraph text.